Okay, so those of us who were here before know that we've started every day with the game Face Salad. And we made this huge face salad, which, to be honest, has become a bit legendary. You know, it's huge. It's magnificent. But it's time to move on to something else now. So today we start with the kitchen utensil game.
Oh, yay, kitchen utensils.
So some of you might know this game. In this game, you've got to make a kitchen utensil out of your body, and everyone else has to guess what it is. I'll go first. What am I?
What does he? Come on, you have to know. Fork. Yay.
Don't type the answer if you've got it. Fork. Excellent. Well done. No, what am I?
I guess so.
What is he?
A bloated fork.
Getting nearer. Getting nearer.
Barbecue fork.
A fish fork.
Spatula.
Hook.
Keep guessing.
Fork with food on.
Yeah, good. A fork with food on the middle rung.
Peon.
With food. Huh? A fork with a pea on. Give a round of applause.
Oh,
Said that. That was brilliant. If you just joined us, we're playing the kitchen utensil game, and I just did this, which represents a fork with a pea on it.
Yes.
That's the kitchen utensil game for today. It's lovely to see you all coming in here. We're now going to start with our story. So I'm going to spotlight me, and please give me a wave if you can hear me and see me clearly. Okay, great. So all the children, all the adults at the beginning of the day, they wake up and they stretch very, very tall onto their tippy toes. They stand on one tippy toe and the other, and they stretch their legs as they go. They look a bit like a spider. They stretch over here, they stretch over there. They stretch up like the sunshine which shines on them in the morning. And they open the door and they step outside in the morning light. Ever so bright in the morning light. And they run up, up, running up the hill. Running up to see the old windmill. Keep it up, up, running up the hill. Running up to see the old windmill. And clicking, clicking, clicking up the hill. Clicking up to see the old windmill. They're clicking, clicking, clicking up the hill. Clicking up to see the old windmill. And they're dancing, dancing, dancing up the hill. Dancing up to see the old windmill. They're dancing, dancing, dancing up the hill. Dancing up to see the old windmill. Foot tapping, tapping, tapping up the hill. Tapping up to see the old windmill. Foot tapping, tapping, tapping up the hill. Tapping up to see the old windmill. And they're jumping, jumping, jumping up the hill. Jumping up to see the old windmill. And they're creeping, creeping, creeping on their toes. Creeping up to see the old windmill. They're creeping, creeping, creeping on their toes. Creeping up to see the old windmill. And there stands the windmill, red and white. Ever so bright in the morning light. There stands the windmill, red and white. Ever so bright in the morning light. And this is the song that the windmill sings. Windmill, windmill, see how my windmill turns, shining in the sun. Feet together, arms down, eyes closed. Put your hands on your heart if you want to. Feel your heart beating. Feel your breathing. Remember, you can always open your eyes if you feel dizzy. Eyes open, arms to the side. Round we go the other way. Windmill, windmill, see how my windmill turns, shining in the sun. Feet together, arms down, eyes closed. And at the top of the hill today, we found a doodly-doo. What's a doodly-doo, I hear you ask? Well, if you do this, I'll show you. We go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, oopsie, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and please sing to me that sweet melody goes doodly-doo. Doodly-doo, I love it so. Wherever I go, it's the doodly-doo. Doodly-doo, and it's the simplest thing. There isn't much to it. All you gotta do is doodly-doo it. I love it so. Wherever I go, just a doodly-doodly-doo. And at the end, we all do a big and put our tongues out like a thirsty dog. Let's practice the end bit. Ready? Doodly, doodly, doo. Good. And again. Doodly, doodly, doo. Good. Now let's practice the other bit again. So we go 1, hit both your legs. 2, cross them. 3, both legs. 4, clap. So it's 1, 2, 3. Let's start nice and slow and get a little bit faster. Please sing to me that sweet melody. It goes doodly-doo, doodly-doo. I love it so. Wherever I go, it's the doodly-doo. Doodly-doo, and it's the simplest thing. There isn't much to it. All you gotta do is doodly-doo it. I love it so. Wherever I go, just a doodly-doodly-doo. Are you ready? Well done. Excellent stuff. Show me your fingers. Show me a whole village of fingers, because down in the village there are whole villages of fingers. And today we're going to learn about these 2 fat gentlemen. Has anyone ever met these 2 fat gentlemen? Well, this is how it goes. Have your 2 fat gentlemen wide apart like this. And then we go. 2 fat gentlemen met in the lane, bowed most politely, and bowed once again. Then we shake hands. How do you do? Other hand. And how do you do? Both hands. And how do you do again? Then, that's the first part. Let's do that again. And if you're with somebody else, you can shake their actual hands if you want to. It's up to you. Let's practice the how do you do's. So first you do one hand. I'm doing right hand first, but it's up to you. Do right hand or one of the hands, and then the other hand, and then both hands. And if you don't have anyone who can do it with you, then just do it with us on the screen. Here's your 2 fat gentlemen. And 2 fat gentlemen met in the lane, bowed most politely and bowed once again. How do you do? And how do you do? And how do you do again? Then we've got 2 posh ladies. 2 posh ladies met in the lane, bowed most politely and bowed once again. How do you do? And how do you do? And how do you do again? Then, look at these tall fellows. 2 tall policemen met in the lane, bowed most politely and bowed once again. How do you do? And how do you do? And how do you do again? Then, can you see these little old ladies? They've got slightly bent backs. They can't quite stand up straight. And they go, 2 old ladies met in the lane, bowed most politely and bowed once again. Oh, how do you do? And how do you do? And how do you do again? Then, these little guys, here's the two children in the village. Two little children met in the lane. They're very bouncy. Bowed most politely, bowed once again. How do you do? And how do you do? And how do you do again? Then, all the little people met in the lane, bowed most politely and bowed once again. How do you do? And how do you do? And how do you do again? Then, one big giant met in the lane, bowed most politely and bowed once again. How do you do? And how do you do? And how do you do again? Well done, give yourselves a finger clap. That's the story of the two fat gentlemen. Okay, so I think we've got time for one more, and I want to tell you, just down in the village, there is a button factory. There is a button factory just down in the village. And this is how it goes. There's a man called Joe, and that's where he lives. You just need to stand up and watch me and join in with the actions. So it starts off, and we go, hey. So you start off, you just go stepping backwards and forwards, and we go, hey, my name's Joe, and I work in the button factory. I got a wife, 3 kids. One day the boss said to me, he said, Joe. I said, yo. He said, you busy? I said, no. He said, push this button with your right hand. And push this button with your right hand. Then they say, hey, my name's Joe, and I work in the button factory. I got a wife, 3 kids. One day the boss said to me, he said, Joe. I said, yo. He said, you busy? I said, no. He said, push this button with your left hand. Yeah, push this button with your left hand. And then we say, hey, my name's Joe, and I work in the button factory. I got a wife, 2 kids. One day the boss said to me, he said, Joe. I said, yo. He said, you busy? I said, no. He said, push this button with your right leg.
Whoa, guys, let's try that now.
Hey, my name's Joe, and I work in the button factory. I got a wife, 3 kids. One day the boss said to me, he said, Joe. I said, yo. He said, you busy? I said, no. He said, push this button with your left leg. Hey, my name's Joe, and I work in the button factory. I've got a wife, 3 kids. One day the boss said to me, he said, Joe. I said, yo. He said, you busy? I said, no. He said, push this button with your head. And hey, my name's Joe, and I work in the button factory. I got a wife, 3 kids. One day the boss said to me, he said, Joe. I said, yo. He said, you busy? He said, as a matter of fact, I am busy, and it's time for me to go to bed. So all the Joes laid down in their beds and did some sand angels. Do some sand angels on the floor where you rub. Imagine you're lying in soft, warm sand, and good old Joe, at the end of his long, hard day's work, he lies on the beach and does some sand angels on the floor. And sometimes he goes onto his face and does some face sand angels. And sometimes he stays on his back, it's up to him. And then, when he feels like he's done enough sand angels, he just sits and listens to the sweet sound of the crystals. And listen carefully. If you listen carefully, you can hear the birds tweeting outside. And I'd like you to give me a little wave if you can have a little listen in your own room. Have a little listen. Is there any windows open, or if there were any windows, could you hear the birds? Can you see the sun shining through? I can see some sunshine in some of your rooms. Well done for joining in with everything. There's lots of new stuff today, and you might not have known what was happening all the time, so well done for joining in. I'm going to unmute you all for a second so you can wave hello to any of your friends.
Yay! Alfie!